Hello voices. My name is Elaine, and the true story I'm about to tell you happened to a friend of mine whom I'll call Leah. In 1978, my friend Leah was separated from her husband and had 3 young children to raise. Leah was in a precarious financial situation. Without a husband and without a job, her husband had disappeared without a trace. Leah was alone with her children, one of them being 10 years old, another 6, and the youngest, Aninha, was only 2 years old. She took odd jobs here and there, working in people's homes, and survived as best as she could. She lived in Rio de Janeiro. One day, while coming back from her cleaning jobs, Leah stopped at a diner for a snack. Looking to the corner of the counter, she saw a forgotten folder. She picked it up and found important documents inside, along with a contact number. Leah decided to call and return the folder. In gratitude, and after learning about Leah's difficult financial situation, the person who owned the folder offered her a job. The job offered was for her to work at a house in a nearby town, taking care of the property, the land, the trees, and small birds like ducks and chickens. The place was like a small farm. The curious thing is that months before Leah even found the folder, she had an intriguing dream. She dreamt that she was sweeping a large yard filled with dry leaves, and as she was almost finished with her task, she heard the sound of a snake's rattle coming from one of the trees on the property. When Leah approached the tree, she saw a figure on the large trunk. The figure was half man from the navel up, and from the navel down, it was a snake coiled around the tree trunk, rattling its tail. The dream stayed with her, especially because of the creature's appearance. The human part of the being was dark-skinned, with curly hair, mischievous eyes, and a malevolent smile. It had sharp, separated teeth. Despite being frightening, it seemed like just a dream. Well, the day of the trip to start her new job arrived. Leah was happy. She thought everything was falling into place. A stable job, a house to live in with her children. She was full of hope for better days. Her eldest son, 10-year-old Pedro, helped with everything he could, despite his young age. The place was in disarray. The only thing that seemed to be taken care of was the land around the house. After a few days and talking to the neighbors, Leah learned that no one who started working at that house stayed in the job for long. They all disappeared mysteriously. They were seen arriving, but no one saw them leave. One thing that caught her attention was that on the day she arrived, while walking around the property, she saw a small creek, and beyond that creek, an empty lot. Vultures constantly circled the area. Leah thought it was because of dead animals and didn't think much of it. She was happy. She thought life was finally smiling at her. She cleaned the house, did the shopping, everything with Pedro's help, her eldest son. Days passed, and everything seemed peaceful. Until one day, a woman arrived clapping at the gate. Leah went to answer. She was a woman of about 60 years old, with an angelic demeanor, who introduced herself as a neighbor from the beginning of the road and invited them for a snack at her house. Leah found the woman so friendly that she didn't think twice, and the next afternoon, she was at the woman's house with her 3 children. The friendly woman offered coffee and cornbread cake for Leah and the children. The neighbor asked many questions. Leah noticed that she looked at Aninha, her youngest, with pity. This look intensified when she learned that Leah had no husband and was alone with the children. That's when the woman hinted that she wasn't alone at home. She called her husband, and Leah was shocked when she saw him. The man looked exactly like the human part of the snake in her dream. Leah went into shock and fainted. When she came to, the man was no longer there, and Leah was being helped by the woman who offered her a package of jerked beef, which she said she and her husband had made. She told Leah to put it in the beans as it would taste very good. Leah asked about the man, but the woman said he had gone to the store and would be back shortly. Leah, still recovering from the shock and fainting, accepted the package, said she would make it for dinner, grabbed the children, and went home. Upon arriving home, Leah's son, Pedro, for some reason she couldn't explain, had a fit, took the package, and said, "No one is going to eat this meat. I'll give it to the chickens." Leah didn't understand, but she decided not to argue with the boy. Pedro had not been diagnosed at that time, but according to doctors years later, even at this time, he already showed signs of schizophrenia. And so he did. He cut the meat into pieces and gave it to the chickens, and to Leah's horror, the bird started convulsing and died rapidly. That's when she felt a dark atmosphere, a sense that something was very wrong, and a premonition that something very bad was about to happen. She gathered the children, asked them to stay very quiet and pray because they would wait only until dawn and then leave that place. By some miracle, the youngest one slept through the night. The child slept as if she had passed out. They all huddled together, hiding in a small shed outside the yard, like an old tool shed, keeping all the lights off as if no one was on the property. In the early hours, Leah and Pedro, who couldn't sleep, heard the sound of cars, saw car headlights circling the yard, and heard voices of people talking outside, but they remained quiet in the shed, praying. After all this commotion, the noise ceased. It was only in the morning that they came out of hiding. As they passed by the porch, Leah came across the most horrifying scene. The neighbor's husband was dead. He had been struck several times in the back with a pointed object. He lay face down on the porch wall, as if he had been caught in the act of trying to enter the house, but was stopped, and the woman was found in the same way, a bit further toward the gate. To this day, no one knows who did it. Later, she learned that the couple poisoned everyone who came to work on that farm because they wanted to take over the house, but the owners didn't trust them. They only worked there when there was no other choice, but when the owners found other people for the job, they let them go. It seemed to enrage them. And do you remember the empty lot and the vultures circling? Yes, that's right. That's where they buried the bodies of the poisoned people. This was later discovered in a police investigation. Well, voices, that was my friend's account. We must pay attention to and give credit to our dreams. Oh, and one important piece of information. Pedro, years later, had a dream in which he was being pursued, and a grenade was thrown into his chest and exploded. To cut the story short, there was a week between the dream and Pedro's death. He died in his sleep of a heart attack. Leah found him lifeless in bed in the morning. I believe that Pedro was sensitive, which explains why he didn't allow his family to eat that meat. Even though Leah had the dream and saw the sinister man, she didn't pay attention and was going to eat it. God gave a second chance and acted through the boy. And you, do you also believe in premonitory dreams? Leave your comments below. Send your own account to the email in the video description, give us a like, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel. See you soon.